Welcome, deep divers, to a truly chilling mystery. A cold case that stretched across decades, across thousands of miles, and really into the raw heart of the Alaskan wilderness. Imagine this. A father and son, just brimming with excitement for the road trip of a lifetime back in 1997, they simply vanish.
Just gone.
Their RV, their home on wheels, it's found weeks later.
For 21 years, it was just that, a cold case, a real shadow haunting Alaska's vastness. But then, fast forward to 2018, everything changes. A group of university hikers just out doing their thing, they stumble onto something carved into a spruce tree.
And this wasn't just a small lead.
No, not at all. This carving didn't just crack the case wide open, it basically blew up every assumption the original investigation had clung to for, 2 decades. What started as a missing persons report suddenly twisted into, well, something much darker, much more organized than anyone had ever imagined.
It's a truly profound case, isn't it? It really shows how one tiny detail, maybe overlooked or just not understood at the time, can unravel a whole mystery when you look at it later, maybe with new tech or just a fresh perspective.
Exactly.
And what gets me is the sheer persistence involved, not just from the police, but from the family, Sarah, the mother, and how that single carving became this undeniable piece of truth in this massive ocean of unknowns. It forced everyone to go back and question everything they thought they knew.
Everything.
This story, it's not just about finding 2 missing people anymore. It became about understanding this terrifying pattern that was hiding in plain sight for years, right there, under the surface of America's last frontier.
It really is incredible and heartbreaking. This is the story of Mark and Daniel Watson, a 21-year mystery that really pushed the limits of, well, hope, family bonds, and just how brutal and unforgiving the Alaska wilderness can be. So our mission today in this deep dive is to really unpack their journey. We're going to dissect those first confusing clues, explore that 2-decade-long search for answers, and then, reveal the shocking discoveries that ultimately painted this horrifying picture. A picture of a calculated predator operating silently, effectively, in one of the most remote parts of America.
It's the kind of story that makes you wonder, doesn't it? What else is out there? Hidden in the wilderness, just waiting.
Definitely.
And as we go through this, you'll really see how it highlights the way cold case investigations have changed. The tools we have now, advanced forensics, behavioral analysis, things like that, they can totally alter how we see past events. Even things buried deep in remote wilderness, covered by years and years of time.
Things that seemed insignificant back then.
Exactly. A clue missed or dismissed in '97 could be the absolute key decades later. It's fascinating and, well, sobering too.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. This dream trip that turned into such a nightmare. For Mark Watson, this wasn't just any old vacation. This was, as he called it, the big one.
Right.
He was 45, a pretty quiet guy, a mechanic from Portland, Oregon, worked at Hanson's Auto Repair for almost 20 years, pulling double shifts sometimes, saving up every penny he could.
Dedicated.
Totally. And this trip, it wasn't just about seeing Alaska's scenery, though that was part of it. The real core, the driving force, was connecting with his 14-year-old son, Daniel.
That crucial age.
Daniel was just about to start high school, navigating those tricky teenage years. Mark felt this, subtle distance growing between them. He genuinely wanted to show Daniel what he called the real America, that huge, untamed wilderness, something totally different from their life in Portland.
A bonding experience.
Absolutely. His wife, Sarah, described as quiet, but really strong. She saw how much this trip, this potential connection, meant to both of them. She was fully behind it.
And that Mark's motivation, it's really poignant when you look at the sources. It wasn't just planning a holiday. It was a deep personal investment, wasn't it? Trying to bridge that gap he felt opening up with his son.
Yeah.
The fact that he apparently struggled to even put words to that feeling of distance. I mean, that resonates. A lot of parents go through that, sadly. Gives the whole trip this really powerful, almost sacred kind of purpose.
Makes the ending even tougher to take.
Exactly. It wasn't just about the destination, Alaska. It was about crossing that generational divide, making a memory that would last, strengthening that bond before Daniel really stepped into being more independent. It wasn't just a dream trip. It was really a father reaching out.
That feeling, trying to reconnect, it's so universal, isn't it? So yeah, this wasn't some last-minute thing. We're talking months, almost a whole year of really careful planning.
Meticulous is the word.
Mark was deep into it. researching routes, looking at maps, reading campground reviews, figuring out every scenic stop they just had to make. He didn't just plan, he prepared. Really prepared.
How so?
Well, he put a lot of work and money into their RV, the Winnebago, got new heavy-duty tires for those Alaskan roads, had the engine fully checked out, tuned up, and he stocked it meticulously. Enough supplies for a whole month on the road, food, water, tools, everything.
Ready for anything.
Pretty much. And Sarah, his wife, she played a big part too. Packing clothes for every kind of weather Alaska could throw at them, which is saying something. Plus first aid kits, emergency gear.
Smart.
And Daniel, our young guy, he was all in, just pure excitement. He even started this detail journal. The plan was to write down every mile, every cool thing they saw, every joke they shared, document the whole epic journey.
And that level of preparation, it's actually really important for understanding why the disappearance was so baffling at first.
How do you mean?
Well, they weren't being reckless, right? They weren't unprepared tours just winging it. They were careful, responsible, planned everything out. So right away, that tells investigators, okay, this probably wasn't caused by them making a mistake, getting lost because they were careless, or not having the right gear.
Right, it points to something else.
Exactly. It immediately steers things towards external factors. Something happened to them, an outside force. And Daniel's journal, that becomes this vital piece. It's not just a kid's diary. It's proof of their plans, their experiences, and tragically, maybe a window into what went wrong.
So the journey begins, full of hope. June 15th, 1997. They take those classic farewell pictures with Sarah in the driveway. Big smiles, promises to call often, be careful on those long roads. Mark assured her, no unnecessary risks. Stick to the plan.
The standard departure scene, but loaded with foreshadowing now.
Totally. And that first week, it was apparently amazing. Everything they'd hoped for. Driving up through Oregon, Washington, stopping in little towns, seeing national parks, even those quirky roadside attractions, stuff that might seem small. But for them, together, it was golden.
Building those memories.
Yeah, and Daniel was filling up his journal, little observations like funny-shaped clouds over Mount Rainier. He wrote about an old man at a gas station telling him stories about catching salmon back in the day, just soaking it all in.
And the regular contact with Sarah, those updates, Daniel's postcards, you're traveling men. It paints such a normal, happy picture, doesn't it?
It really does.
These weren't just check-ins. They were like emotional anchors. Sarah treasured every single one. It confirmed the trip was working, that bond Mark wanted was strengthening. It just makes the silence that follows so much more, well, jarring.
Yeah, brutal contrast. And you could almost feel the fun in those postcards. From Seattle, Daniel wrote something like, "Dad let me drive in the parking lot at Pike Place Market. Don't worry, no cars around."
Can picture Mark holding his breath.
Totally. Then from Vancouver, the mountains here are incredible. Dad says Alaska will be even better. And then, I love this one from BC. "We saw a real moose today. Dad was so excited he nearly drove off the road trying to get a picture."
Classic dad move.
Right. Just these little snapshots of a dream unfolding, shared moments, exactly what Mark wanted.
Which makes their very last message so incredibly poignant. The final postcard. Just a small piece of paper, but full of anticipation. Postmarked July 8th, 1997, from Dawson Creek, Canada.
The gateway.
Exactly. The edge of Alaska. It was brief, but you can feel the excitement. "Tomorrow we cross into Alaska. This is it. The real adventure begins. Love you, Mark and Daniel." That was it. The peak they were aiming for. And tragically, the last words Sarah ever got from them. The last connection before the wilderness them.
The very last one. So 3 days go by, no call. July 11th. Sarah starts to feel a little worried, but not panicked yet.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Cell service back then, especially up there.
Right. Notoriously bad. She knew they were heading into remote areas. But by July 15th, a whole week since that postcard from Dawson Creek, worry turns into real panic. Full-blown panic.
A week is a long time with no word.
A very long time. She calls the Alaska State Troopers immediately. And you can kind of picture the initial reaction, right? "Ma'am, thousands of tourists come through. Communication gaps happen all the time out here."
Standard procedure? Maybe a bit dismissive at first.
Probably. But here's where Mark's meticulous planning and Sarah knowing it all became absolutely crucial. She had the detailed itinerary, the planned stops, the RV's specific Oregon license plate number, even campground reservations they'd made.
So she had concrete info.
Exactly. That allowed the troopers to actually start making real inquiries to move past that initial skepticism. Without all that detail, the search might have been delayed even further or maybe not taken as seriously right away.
That's a really key point. Documentation, communication plan. Vital for remote travel. Her foresight basically jump-started the investigation. And the first real lead, the only lead for a time, came from a gas station attendant in Tiktok, Alaska.
TikTok,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, a guy Hensley. Apparently had an amazing memory for faces and vehicles passing through his small town. He specifically remembered that distinctive white Winnebago with the Oregon plates. He'd seen Mark and Daniel
When was
on
this?
the morning of July 9th, just the day after that last postcard was mailed.
And how did they seem?
According to Hensley, they were in great spirits. Really excited. Daniel was buying postcards, snacks. Mark filled up the gas tank, checked the tires again, being careful, just like always. Hensley remembered thinking they seemed well prepared.
Matches everything we know about Mark.
It does. And crucially, Mark asked Hensley for recommendations, scenic spots to camp. Hensley, being a local, suggested a few places along the Richardson Highway.
Okay, so that helped narrow things down a bit.
It did. It gave the searchers a specific major route to focus on, south of TikTok. But despite that lead, that last sighting, it's like the trail just went completely cold after TikTok. Days turned into weeks. No other witnesses, no businesses remember them, nothing.
Like they just vanished.
Exactly. Like Mark and Daniel Watson and their big white RV just drove off the highway and disappeared into the Alaskan void. No footprint, no trace. The road from TikTok simply swallowed them whole.
That phrase, into the Alaskan void, really captures it, doesn't it? The sheer challenge of searching there.
It's immense. Alaska's wilderness. It's not like other places. Dense forests, vast tundra, rivers, mountains.
Yeah.
It can hide things incredibly well. A vehicle, two people, easily swallowed up.
Searching for a needle in a haystack doesn't even cover it.
Not even close. It's like a needle in a haystack the size of several states, like you said.
Huh.
Which makes Sarah's desperate search efforts even more agonizing. She was fighting against this enormous, silent opponent.
Sarah, driven by that fierce mother's love, she flew up to Anchorage, July 25th. That's almost 3 weeks after they were last heard from. She just threw herself into the search, pushing past her own grief.
Incredible strength.
The search effort itself was huge, really inspiring in a way. Locals chipped in, other tourists volunteered, even commercial pilots offered their time in planes. Bush pilots, too. Helicopters flew these painstaking grid patterns. Ground teams hiked miles and miles of tough terrain.
The massive undertaking.
But like you said, finding them in that vastness, it was overwhelming. The scale, the difficulty of the land, just huge empty spaces. Even for experienced searchers, it felt almost impossible.
And then finally a breakthrough. Although it's a strange one. Raised more questions than it answered, really.
This was the RV discovery.
Yeah, August 14th. So 5 weeks after that last sighting in TikTok. A helicopter pilot, flying one of those grid patterns, spotted something white glinting through the trees.
The Winnebago.
That was it. About 60 miles north of the Richardson Highway, where they were expected to be. Partially hidden by the trees, almost like someone tried to conceal it.
60 miles north, that's way off course.
Way off. And the location is telling. It was parked in this small clearing, only accessible by this rough, unmarked dirt track. Barely even a road, it looked intentionally hidden. Tucked away, off the beaten path.
Which screams foul play.
It certainly suggested human involvement, and probably not the good kind.
And inside the RV, that was the really puzzling part, wasn't it? The contradiction.
Exactly. The door was locked, but from the inside. The search team actually had to break a window to get in.
Locked from the inside. How does that even happen if they vanished?
That was the million-dollar question. Inside, it looked like, well, like camping interrupted, beds unmade, clothes laid out like for the next day, food still in the fridge. But crucially, no sign of a struggle. No overturned chairs, nothing broken, no obvious disturbance at all.
So weird. What did investigators think?
Intense speculation, obviously.
Yeah.
Does a door locked from the inside mean they were in there, felt safe, and then maybe lured out? Or taken quickly, without a fight? Or was someone else with them who then locked it when they left? The lack of struggle suggested whatever happened was fast, maybe unexpected. Or the threat wasn't immediately obvious. Or maybe they even knew the person. It was deeply unsettling.
And this is where Daniel's journal comes back in, right? With that haunting clue.
Yes. It was right there on the dining table, open. Open to his final entry, dated July 9th, same day they were seen in TikTok. And the last line he wrote, it's chillingly vague. Dad wanted to tell me something, but stopped himself.
Oh, man. Gives you chills.
Doesn't it? What was Mark going to say? Was it a worry? A premonition? Did he see something? Or was it something personal? It implies something was going on, beneath the surface of the trip. Some tension or unspoken concern, we can only guess. A moment of quiet observation from Daniel, but a huge mystery for everyone else.
Dad wanted to tell me something, but stopped himself. Wow. What was he holding back? And then outside the RV, The footprint.
The footprint
Yeah.
near the door, a footprint in a patch of mud. And it was absolutely critical. Size 11 work boot. Definitely not Mark's size, definitely not Daniel's.
Yeah.
Undeniable proof. Someone else was at that campsite. An uninvited guest. An unknown presence. The first solid piece of evidence pointing directly to external human involvement.
Wasn't there something from local indigenous people, too?
There was. Their knowledge of the land is often invaluable in these cases. Several people reported seeing campfire smoke in that general area during the second week of July, right around the time the Watsons likely disappeared.
Insistent timing.
Very. And one elder, who was walking way off trail, remembered seeing a lone figure walking through the forest around that time too. Too far away to describe clearly, but still.
To the picture.
It does. These accounts, while not definitive proof on their own, they strongly hinted at human activity in that very remote spot, right when things went wrong. It subtly shifted the focus away from just a wilderness accident towards something. Well, something involving another person.
So the initial started taking shape around these few clues, but ultimately nothing concrete emerged.
Right. The case went cold. Frustratingly so.
Huh.
The main theory, given the hidden RV, the locked door, the footprint, was an encounter with someone dangerous. Maybe they're forced to hide, maybe they were taken quickly. Whatever happened, the consensus was it was probably swift.
Any other ideas floating around?
There was talk about maybe a drifter or someone using those back roads to avoid police. There were some vague reports of an aggressive panhandler in the wider region that summer. A wildlife attack was considered, but the lack of damage inside the RV made it seem less likely.
But no real leads.
None that panned out. Months turned into years. The file stayed open, technically, but it gathered dust. Hope faded with every passing Alaskan winter.
And Sarah, the human cost, it's just immense.
It really is agonizing to think about. Her hope, though, it became this powerful, almost tragic force. A mother's love refusing to quit. She went back to Portland eventually, but Alaska was always there in her mind.
She kept going back.
Every year, like a pilgrimage. She never remarried, kept Daniel's room exactly as he left it, almost like she expected him to walk back in. She even made a little memorial for them in her backyard.
Oh, wow.
And she marked every missed milestone. Daniel's high school graduation in 2001. His 21st birthday in 2004. Thinking about the wedding he never had, the grandkids she'd never meet. By 2010, 13 years on, she'd personally hiked hundreds of miles up there, chased down every rumor, hired PIs, even consulted psychics and survival experts.
At huge personal cost, I imagine.
Immense. Her health suffered, her finances were drained. Friends gently suggested, maybe it was time to try and move on, find some peace. But Sarah, she just wasn't ready. She said, I'm not ready to give up. That relentless pursuit, it's something anyone connected to a cold case, that ambiguous loss, understands deep down.
Just devastating. 21 years, the wilderness holding its secret so tightly, and then 2018, everything changes.
Everything. It's where the story takes this unexpected pivotal turn, dormant for 2 decades, and then suddenly, boom.
What happened?
2018. A group of University of Alaska students. They were hikers, photographers, out on a project documenting old-growth forests, wildlife, in the same general area where the RV had been found all those years ago.
Back near the original site.
Exactly. They were deep in the woods, miles from any official trail, just doing their research.
Documenting trees, taking pictures, and then...
And then one of them, a student, Chen, she spots something. Just off the rough path they were making for themselves, she saw, quote, something unusual carved into the bark of a large spruce tree.
A carving?
Yeah. It was weathered, the tree had started to heal around it over the years, but it was still clear. Readable. And the words, simple, but they sent a shockwave through the group. It read, Daniel was here, 1997.
Wow. After 21 years.
Can you imagine the impact of finding that? A voice literally echoing from the past, carved into a tree in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't just a clue, it was a bombshell.
Absolutely staggering. What did investigators do?
They jumped on it, obviously. Forensics came in. They used dendrochronology, basically studying tree rings and growth, to confirm the carving was made back in 1997. The tree's healing patterns proved it.
Okay, so the timing fits.
Perfectly. And then they compared the lettering style to samples from Daniel's journal, which Sarah had kept safe all those years. The handwriting analysts were clear. It was consistent. It was Daniel's writing.
So proof, Daniel survived the initial incident.
Undeniable proof. He survived whatever happened at the RV. He was alive, and he was able to walk roughly 3 miles through dense, tough forest from the RV site to that tree.
3 miles? That's significant.
It is, and it also threw a harsh light on the original investigation. Despite that massive 1997 search effort, they had missed this absolutely critical piece of evidence. It literally changed the entire understanding of the case.
From vanished at the RV to survived and moved.
Exactly. A 21-year-old message finally found. And this discovery, naturally, kicked off a brand new investigation. But this time, they had tools and techniques that just weren't available, or were very basic, back in '97.
What kind of modern tools?
We're talking things like advanced ground-penetrating radar, GPR, stuff that can essentially see under the ground, look for disturbances, buried objects, sophisticated infrared imaging, looking for heat signatures or soil changes, and highly specialized wilderness search and rescue teams, trained in finding minute clues. They went over that whole area around the RV site, around the tree with a fine-tooth comb.
GPR. How does that work in dense forest?
Well, think about it. Decades of fallen leaves, undergrowth, soil shifting. It can hide a lot. GPR sends electromagnetic pulses down. They bounce back differently depending on what they hit: rock, empty space, maybe disturbed earth from digging, or a buried object. It lets you see without excavating huge areas, which would be impossible there. Infrared can pick up subtle temperature differences too, maybe from an old campfire pit or buried items. These are game changers compared to '97.
And did these new techniques find anything?
They did, quickly. Within about a week of finding the carving, maybe half a mile from that spruce tree, they found something else. Hidden under all that forest debris built up over the years, the remnants of a makeshift shelter.
A shelter built by Mark and Daniel.
Looked like it.
Yeah.
Crude, yeah. Just branches woven together, rocks piled up for windbreak, but definitely human-made. And the clincher. They found little scraps of fabric inside it. Forensic analysis later confirmed they were from clothes that had been packed in the Watson RV. Specifically, one of Mark's flannel shirts and a pair of Daniel's jeans.
Wow. So they were there, they survived, and tried to make camp.
Exactly, which immediately raised a whole new set of really difficult questions. Okay, they survived the RV incident. They were capable enough to build a shelter, so why leave the RV in the first place?
Yeah, the RV had food, warmth, protection.
Everything they needed, theoretically. Why abandon that safety for deeper, rougher wilderness? Were they trying to hike out to find help and got lost? Or, and this is the more chilling thought, were they hiding? Were they running from something or someone?
It suggests they were under duress, making desperate choices.
That's how it looked. They were actively trying to survive, but also possibly evading a threat.
Did they find anything else around the shelter?
A few more heartbreaking clues. More small pieces of clothing. Mark's compass, broken. Maybe dropped in a struggle. Maybe broken in a fall during a panicked run. Hard to say.
And the journal.
Yeah, they found several more pages torn from Daniel's journal near the shelter. Badly damaged by the weather, years of rain and snow, mostly illegible. But one fragment. One tiny piece, they could just make out a few words.
What did it say?
It read, "Dad says we have to keep moving because..." And that's it. The sentence just stops.
Yeah.
The most crucial part, the reason they had to keep moving, lost to time and the elements.
Oh, that's agonizing. What were they running from?
Exactly. That unfinished sentence, it hangs there. It implies pursuit, doesn't it? A desperate flight from a danger they couldn't even finish writing about, maybe interrupted right then. So frustrating.
And this new evidence, did it make them rethink the original search?
It did. It really highlighted the immense challenges back in '97. Less advanced gear, maybe a less developed understanding of wilderness forensics back then, huge pressure to cover impossible ground fast. Investigators in '97, they did their best, but they were just unable to find these more subtle, distant clues spread out over such tough terrain. It's a reminder of how technology and resources really shape what's possible in an investigation.
And Sarah, Mark's wife, Daniel's mother, how did she react to all this new information? She was 71 by then.
It was incredibly complex for her, as you can imagine. She flew back up to Alaska again, standing there at that tree, seeing Daniel was here in 1997. It brought this huge wave of validation, yes. Proof he survived, proof he fought, but also this fresh, almost unbearable grief.
Knowing he was alive, but suffering.
Exactly. Knowing he was out there, alive, scared, maybe hurt, trying desperately to leave a sign. The sources say she found that almost harder to bear than the 20 years of just not knowing. It replaced the blank uncertainty with this vivid, painful image of his struggle. It really speaks to the complicated nature of truth and closure, doesn't it? Sometimes the knowing hurts in a different, sharper way, even as it answers questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So the new evidence wasn't just about what they found.
Right. It was about what it implied, about the perpetrator, assuming there was one, and the conditions Mark and Daniel were facing. The investigation really kicked into high gear again, re-examining absolutely everything, including the environment itself.
Like the weather back in July '97.
Exactly. Records showed it was an unusually cold and wet summer for Alaska. Night temperatures dropping into the 40s Fahrenheit, steady rain for days around the time they vanished. For anyone without proper gear or shelter, that's hypothermia territory, fast, life-threatening.
Could that explain why they left the RV? Maybe trying to find better shelter or getting disoriented in the cold?
It's possible. And there was also evidence of increased bear activity that summer. A poor berry season meant bears were roaming wider, looking for food, potentially increasing encounters with people.
So maybe a bear forced them out.
Again, possible. No direct evidence of an attack at the RV or shelter, but you can't rule it out as a factor that might have made them flee desperately. But then there was this other discrepancy, something huge that the original investigation missed or didn't weigh properly.
What was that?
Park Service records. They showed that the rough dirt road, the one leading to where the RV was found hidden, it had been officially closed to all vehicle traffic since 1995.
Closed. How?
Blocked by a locked gate 2 miles in from the main Richardson Highway.
A locked gate. But the RV got past it.
Exactly. So either Mark, a tourist from Oregon, somehow knew about this closed road, found a way around a locked gate 2 miles off the highway, which seems, well, incredibly unlikely.
Yeah, highly improbable.
Or someone else let them in. Someone else knew the road, had access, maybe unlocked the gate for them.
Which points strongly to outside help or coercion.
Precisely. A tourist wouldn't know about that road or how to bypass a gate like that. This detail, combined with a hidden location, made investigators pretty certain foul play wasn't just a possibility anymore. It felt like a certainty.
And this is where the drifter theory really starts to solidify, isn't it?
It really takes hold here. Investigators went back, re-interviewed locals, people who lived in the area back in '97. This time, with this new context, memories sharpened. Several people clearly recalled seeing a man living rough in the forests around there that summer.
Living rough, like off-grid.
Yeah. Described as a white guy, maybe in his 30s, long dark hair, full beard, driving an older, kind of beat-up pickup truck.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes. This is the key part. He was known to approach tourists sometimes, offering to guide them to secret camping spots, places more private than the established campgrounds, he'd say, promising a more authentic wilderness experience.
Oh, that sounds potentially dodgy.
Deeply unsettling, right? Who offers secret spots in remote wilderness? Someone who knows the area intimately, the hidden tracks, the secluded clearings. That knowledge could be innocent, sure, but coupled with the locked gate, the hidden RV, it starts to sound like a lure.
So the new theory was Mark and Daniel meet this guy.
Yeah, meet this drifter. He seems like a helpful local, maybe spins a good yarn, offers to show them this amazing private campsite only he knows about, leads them down that closed road, maybe unlocks the gate or knows a way around. They get to the spot, maybe set up camp thinking everything's fine,
Yeah.
and then something goes terribly wrong. Something forces them to abandon everything and run for their lives into the woods.
Leaving the RV locked from the inside still doesn't explain that bit easily.
No, that remains perplexing. But the drifter theory explained the location, the access.
Yeah.
It fit the pieces better than anything else, but finding this drifter, that was the next huge challenge.
He lived off-grid, you said. Largely. Left very few traces. Appeared to have vanished from that area shortly after the Watsons disappeared. No reliable records, no confirmed name. He just melted away, almost like Mark and Daniel had initially.
Another dead end.
Seemed like it. Until 2019, a retired Alaska State Trooper, Jim Morrison, came forward. He'd remembered something from way back in '97, an interview he'd done with a local mechanic. The mechanic had since passed away, but Morrison remembered the conversation.
What did the mechanic say?
He'd worked on the drifter's pickup truck just days before the Watsons vanished. He told Morrison the guy seemed really nervous, jumpy, paid cash for the repairs. But what really stuck with the mechanic was the stuff in the truck bed.
What kind of stuff?
Expensive, high-quality camping gear, brand new sleeping bag, top-of-the-line tent, fancy cooking stuff. Looked totally out of place with the guy's rough appearance and his old truck.
Didn't fit the living rough image. Not at all. And it immediately sparked a really sinister thought for the 2019 investigators. Maybe this drifter was getting his gear from tourists. Maybe theft. Or worse. The Watsons, with their well-stocked, comfortable RV, they could have been targets in a pattern.
A pattern of predation.
Exactly. This detail put to cast an even wider net. They started looking at other missing persons cases from '97 and the years around it, specifically looking for those similarities.
And did they find more?
They did. A chilling pattern started to emerge. They found at least 3 other cases just from that summer where tourists had disappeared in remote Alaskan locations, all camping, all last seen in isolated spots, often after someone offered them a special place to camp. All vanished, leaving vehicles behind.
My God, so it wasn't just the Watsons.
No. The dawning horror was realizing this might be the work of a serial predator, someone who had been operating under the radar, hitting tourists in these remote areas where disappearances might be written off as accidents or people getting lost.
This changes everything.
Fundamentally. And so in 2020, based on all this accumulated evidence, the carving, the shelter, the footprint, the closed road, the drifter, the mechanic's story, the other similar disappearances, the Watson case was officially reclassified.
For missing persons, too.
Suspected homicide, with the unknown drifter identified as the primary suspect.
How did Sarah react to that?
It must have been incredibly painful, confirming her worst fears after all that time. But it also brought a kind of grim validation, and it allowed her access to victim services, support systems she hadn't qualified for before. Sadly, Sarah Watson passed away peacefully in 2021. She was 74.
She never gave up hope, though.
Never. Her final wish was for the investigation to continue, and the Sarah Watson Foundation was set up in her memory. It provides support for families like hers, advocates for wilderness safety.
Yeah.
Keeps her fight going.
An incredible legacy.
Truly, the reclassification was a massive turning point, but the full, terrifying scope of what happened, that was still unfolding. Advanced forensics, behavioral analysis, they were about to paint an even colder picture.
So the post-2018 investigation really ramped up, unprecedented resources.
Absolutely. The Alaska Bureau of Investigation teamed up with the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, the BAU, the profilers. Top experts got involved.
Yeah.
And they brought the most advanced forensic techniques to bear, especially on those tiny fabric fragments from the makeshift shelter. They were hoping for DNA.
And did they get it?
They did.
Yeah.
A major breakthrough. Forensic scientists managed to extract genetic material, not just confirming Mark's DNA and Daniel's DNA were present at the shelter, which they expected, but also DNA from an unknown male.
The drifter.
Had to be. This is it. Concrete scientific proof linking that unknown third party to Mark and Daniel's final known location away from the RV.
Yeah.
They immediately ran that unknown profile through CODIS, the National DNA Database.
And he had...
Frustratingly, no. No matches to any known offenders in the system, meaning he hadn't been caught or convicted for anything else that put his DNA on file. But still, it solidified the case. This wasn't just suspected homicide anymore. It was confirmed contact with an unknown, likely malevolent third party in their final days.
So the profilers, the BAU, what did they make of this guy?
They built a detailed profile based on everything: the crime scenes, the likely methods, the location, the timeline. They figured white male, probably aged 25 to 40 back in 1997, clearly had extensive wilderness survival skills, lived a transient life off-grid, possibly had military or maybe some kind of serious outdoors training, given how well he operated in that environment.
And the most chilling part.
Their conclusion: this probably wasn't his first crime. The level of planning, the execution, luring victims, leaving no trace, it suggested experience. He likely saw isolated travelers as targets of opportunity. Calculated predation.
It's just terrifying. What kind of person does that? Uses survival skills honed for the wilderness to hunt people.
That question led investigators to dig even deeper into cold cases, not just from '97, but across decades, across Alaska and Western Canada. And the pattern became undeniable and much bigger.
How many cases potentially linked?
Between 1995 and 1999, they identified at least 6 other separate incidents, besides the Watsons and the 3 from '97 they already knew about. Disappearing tourists, remote areas.
Same pattern. RVs, camping, helpful local, offering a spot.
Strikingly similar characteristics in many of them. Vehicles found abandoned, occupants vanished. One case from '96, the Jenkins couple, Harold and Betty, retired couple from Arizona, disappeared near Denali. RV found on a remote track, belongings inside, just like the Watsons. Unidentified footprint nearby.
Yeah.
Witnesses saw a bearded man in an old pickup in the area.
Almost identical circumstances.
Eerily similar. The grim reality sunk in. They were likely dealing with Alaska's first confirmed serial killer, specifically targeting tourists. Someone who operated for years, completely undetected, using the vastness as his hunting ground and shield.
How could someone operate for so long?
The remoteness is key. These weren't happening in populated areas. Disappearances could be weeks apart, miles apart, even in different jurisdictions sometimes. Easy to dismiss them as isolated incidents, tragic accidents in the wilderness. He knew how to use that isolation.
And then another break, something about a trooper's memory.
Yes, another long-forgotten memory moment. This
Yeah.
one in late 2019. Trooper Rebecca Martinez. Back in 1997, she was just a rookie, fairly new on the job. And on July 12th, 1997,
July 12th, that's just 3 days after Mark and Daniel were last seen in TikTok.
exactly, critical timing. She made a traffic stop on the Richardson Highway, right near the general area where the Watsons vanished, pulled over an older pickup for speeding. The driver gave the name Robert Miller, showed her ID that looked legit at the time.
Robert Miller?
Remember that name? But several things about this stop bothered Trooper Martinez, even back then as a rookie.
Like what?
The driver seemed unusually nervous, way more agitated than you would expect for just speeding. Fidgety, avoided eye contact. And his truck, it was full of that same kind of gear the mechanic mentioned. Extensive, high-quality new camping equipment, sleeping bags, tent, gear. Totally mismatched his rough look and old truck.
The same pattern.
The exact same pattern. And then, the most alarming detail. Martinez noticed what looked like blood stains on some of the camping gear.
Bloodstains? What did he say?
He quickly claimed it was from cleaning fish he'd caught. Plausible excuse, maybe. But Martinez, being new, feeling maybe a bit unsure of her grounds for pushing further without stronger probable cause, she let him go with just a warning. A huge what if. The date, the location, the nervousness, the mismatched gear, the bloodstains. It put this Robert Miller squarely in the right place at the right time, behaving suspiciously with gear that might have belonged to victims. Those stains weren't likely from fish. It was a tragically missed opportunity.
And Robert Miller, was that his real name?
No. Further investigation revealed Robert Miller was a stolen identity. The real Robert Miller had died in a car crash back in 1992.
So he was using a dead man's ID.
Yes, which shows another level of planning, sophistication. This wasn't just some random drifter. This was someone actively concealing his identity, likely involved in identity theft, covering his tracks meticulously. The pieces were falling into place, painting this picture of a cunning, elusive, and prolific killer. But the full extent, the true horror of his base of operations, that was still hidden out there.
And the Sarah Watson Foundation, they kept pushing, still funding searches.
They did. Tireless. In 2020, their volunteers, working with an archaeological team, made another huge discovery. About 10 miles from Daniel's carving tree, they found the remains of a significant campfire.
Just one fire.
No, the analysis showed it had been used repeatedly, systematically, over several weeks during that summer of 1997. And within the ash layers, more fragments of clothing, matched items from the Watson RV again, definitely linking this site to them.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah. Among the ashes, the debris, investigators found several small bones.
Human bones.
Forensic analysis confirmed. Human remains. And their size, their characteristics, heartbreakingly consistent with those of a 14-year-old boy.
Daniel.
Almost certainly Daniel. DNA was inconclusive because of the fire damage and decomposition over time, but the implication was devastatingly clear. This campfire wasn't just a brief stop. It was a base camp, used over and over for weeks. It suggests the killer felt comfortable there, familiar with the area. It was his staging ground, his hidden center of operations.
Did they find more evidence of him being based there long term?
They did. Wider searches around that campfire site uncovered more crude shelters, hidden food caches, even a kind of makeshift workshop area, all cleverly concealed by natural growth. This wasn't just a place he visited. It was his semi-permanent base in one of the most remote corners of Alaska, a place he launched his attacks from. The audacity is just chilling.
A workshop? What did they find there?
That was the breakthrough that revealed the true scale. Hidden under debris, maybe in a cache to protect it from the weather, a collection of personal items belonging to multiple victims.
Oh my God. Like trophies.
It seemed that way. Driver's licenses, credit cards, ID cards, jewelry, other personal effects, belonging to at least 8 different individuals.
8 people?
At least. And among them, Mark Watson's wallet and Daniel's wristwatch, concrete proof linking them to this killer's lair. But it also showed the horrifying time frame. Items represented victims stretching across nearly a decade. The oldest ID dated back to 1991. The most recent was from 1999.
So he was active for years before the Watsons and continued for years after.
Exactly. At least 6 years before Mark and Daniel, and at least 2 years after. The Watsons weren't an isolated tragedy. They were horrifyingly just 2 victims in a much longer, darker series of crimes.
Alaska's most prolific serial killer.
That's what him now believe, operating totally undetected for almost a decade. His success was down to the remoteness, his wilderness skills, the false identity, and the difficulty of connecting disappearances scattered across such a vast area. Alaska's beauty and isolation provided the perfect shield for his monstrous acts.
So where does the case stand now? Is it closed?
The Watson case itself is officially still open. The search for the perpetrator, the man who used the name Robert Miller, it continues. They're constantly reanalyzing evidence with new techniques as they develop. There's always hope for a future DNA match, maybe through familial DNA searching, or if he gets arrested for something else somewhere else.
And the carving. Daniel was here.
That spruce tree is now protected evidence. It's not just a lonely message anymore. It's a symbol, yeah, but it's part of this much larger, chilling picture now. A testament to Daniel's struggle, but also a key piece in uncovering a serial killer.
So this story, it's more than just a warning about wilderness dangers.
Oh, much more. It's definitely a sobering reminder of the risks, even for prepared people like the Watsons. And it has led to better safety device, better coordination for travelers up there, but it's a profound story about family bonds, isn't it? About against all odds, but a mother's refusal to give up. Mark wanted an adventure with his son, a connection. In the most tragic way imaginable, they got that intense experience together. And Daniel's carving? That's proof of their spirit, their will to survive, their hope, right to the end.
The Alaska wilderness holds so many secrets, beautiful and terrifying, but sometimes, yeah, with incredible patience, dedication. It gives them up one carved word, one DNA fragment at a time.
Exactly.
This deep dive into the Mark and Daniel Watson case, it really shows how perseverance plus new technology can bring truth to light even decades later. From a missing persons file to uncovering a serial killer's hidden lair, it's a testament to the investigators, but especially to Sarah Watson's unwavering hope.
And yet, that central mystery remains. The identity of the drifter, Robert Miller. His DNA is out there, in the system, waiting for a match that hasn't come yet. Which leaves us with a pretty chilling thought, doesn't it?
What's that?
Alaska, places like it. Vast, beautiful, offering solitude, but also offering perfect cover. Given how long this guy operated, how many victims they now suspect, how many other missing persons cases in Alaska or other remote places, cases may be written off as accidents, how many might actually be unsolved homicides, still waiting for their own deep dive for someone to find that overlooked clue.
Yeah, makes you wonder, doesn't it? What cold cases in your own area, maybe even cases you think you know, might hold similar hidden clues, just waiting for the right person or the right technology to finally bring the truth out. It certainly makes you look at the wilderness and maybe even old, forgotten files a little differently. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.